Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. Happy Monday to you. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shocking the political world yesterday. It's got Donald Trump beating Joe Biden 52 to 42% head to head, which is a massive number and something we typically do not see, even with the most unpopular incumbent presidents. For reaction, I want to welcome in pollster with McLaughlin and Associates in the Trump 2024 campaign, Jim McLaughlin, and GOP strategist Krysia Lenzo with me in-house this morning. Great to see you both, Jim. Want to start with you. So this poll, really bad for Joe Biden, but they were already out on cleanup duty late yesterday. The Washington Post claiming that their own poll was an outlier. What do you make of that?
It was pretty comical. And what's happened is, there's been a poll from CNN, obviously, and then you had the Wall Street Journal poll. But now you have another liberal outlet like the Washington Post poll putting out a poll where Donald Trump is ahead by 10 points right now. And, Rob, we've been talking about this for a long time. What this is really about, and I know there's been a lot of emphasis put on Joe Biden's age. It's really not about Joe Biden's age. What it's really about is his failures and on the issues that people care about most. And I'm telling you, I think the other problem they have right now is on two of the biggest issues out there, inflation and the border. They're trying to blame Republicans. They're trying to blame others. We didn't have these problems when Donald Trump was president, and the voters get it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions, Krysia, on how this affects Joe Biden 2024. 14 months from Election Day is a long time. Is Gavin Newsom really going to become a candidate at some point? He was on 60 Minutes last night. He's basically doing everything that a candidate would do before they announce that they are officially a candidate. But then this morning, NBC News had a poll out that once again goes back to what we've seen over the past couple of months. It's got Joe Biden and Donald Trump tied at 46%, and that is right in line with Quinnipiac, CNN, and Wall Street Journal polls that have come out over the last 10 days. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, I think these polls need to be taken with a grain of salt. It's clear that there's discrepancy, but also I think, again, Donald Trump will pull ahead, especially this week with the impeachment inquiry. We will be hearing more about Joe Biden's business dealings. They will be out in the open. The mainstream media can't ignore it if we're having maybe even Hunter Biden getting subpoenaed.
Right.
And we're going to be seeing those bank records. We're going to be seeing the emails with Joe Biden having a pseudonym attached to them. So, yes, I do think Gavin Newsom is
fake names on
fake
emails.
names.
So
yeah, it's so bizarre. But basically, Gavin Newsom is primed. I think maybe even Ted Cruz's assessment that Michelle Obama could come in at the end and potentially be a candidate is also something to think about. I think the Republicans need to prepare for a candidate other than Joe Biden.
That's a great point. And if it doesn't happen over the next couple months, Jim, before those filing deadlines in key states, it could happen at the Democratic convention next summer. Joe Biden, put it this way, with Joe Biden, whatever's going on with his health, it's not going to get any better between now and then, that's for sure. Jim, Kelly Sadler said earlier this morning that this poll is an outlier only until we get another poll where Donald Trump is way out in front of Joe Biden. Do you think that could come next?
Yeah, and look, the polls do go around. We always say the polling the polling sentiment that we like to say is, look, these things are a snapshot in time. But if you look at the last 7 national polls, and all polls are not created equal, Donald Trump has either been tied or he's been ahead. And even Democratic pollsters like Mark Penn, Doug Schoen, they've had Donald Trump ahead. And when you look at who the undecided voters are in these surveys, they are definitely leaning towards Donald Trump. They, the vast majority tell you the country is off on the wrong track. The vast majority tell you that Joe Biden is taking the country backwards. And look, I think there's I've been saying this for a long time. I do not think when it's all said and done at the end of the day that Joe Biden is necessarily going to be their candidate. But even if they swap him out, it doesn't matter who the Democrat is, whether it's Michelle Obama, whether it's Gavin Newsom, they're going to be saddled with Joe Biden's failure. And that's what's driving these numbers, is the failures of Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Yeah, that's a great point, because people forget in early 2012, Barack Obama was polling behind Mitt Romney because in large part, Obama, his first 4 years, he was saddled with issues that were pre-existing. You think about the financial crisis that predated Barack Obama. That probably doomed John McCain, and that was a George W. Bush problem.
Yeah. And one real quick, though, Rob, related to that, whereas the voters didn't really, when Barack Obama was running for re-election, the voters didn't really blame him for the economy. Remember that big speech that Bill Clinton gave at the convention?
Right.
It was a good speech. It really helped him. They blame Joe Biden because they understand they didn't have things like inflation. We didn't have these border problems. You go look at the exit polls back from 2020, and the media pollsters weren't even asking about the issues of immigration and inflation. And the voters know that.
Okay, let me, Krysia, so here again, to use Jim's phrase there about a snapshot in time, here's where Joe Biden is according to that Washington Post poll out yesterday. His approval rating is 37%. On the economy, he's at just 30%. On immigration, he's at just 23%. All three of those numbers are below where Jimmy Carter was in the same period in his presidency. What do you make of that?
I think it's telling because, just as Jim mentioned, Joe Biden is failing on every single issue that is important to Americans. He is totally misdirected. I mean, it's a good thing he is going to Michigan, only announcing it after Trump said he was going to go to Michigan, because the auto workers are totally feeling the heat when it comes to his environmental policies, which are completely destroying the economy, because it all leads back to energy independence. I tend to harp on this because inflation, many of the economic problems that people are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, all because of the fact that we have issues with his EV policies and also just at lack of security with respect to where we are in the country.
Great point. And Jim, I think people forget that pre-COVID, Donald Trump was polling in the 60s on the economy, a long way from where Joe Biden is this morning at 30%. We'll leave it there. Jim McLaughlin, Krysia Lenzo, thank you so much. We'll pick this conversation up as the week moves forward. Lots more to go here on Wake Up America on this Monday morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.